Well, we have officially been RVing for 6 months, and we thought maybe now was a good time to check in and let you all know some of our favorite things and maybe some of our, we probably won't do that again things.
I know one of the things that people often ask me is about the food that we're eating. You know, what's the interesting food that you're eating, or what's the most interesting thing that you've eaten, or your favorite, or stuff like that. And I would say the place that would be my favorite place to eat would be the Boiling Pot in Rockport, Texas. They basically prepare your food in a pot. They can bring it out and dump it on your table, and you eat it off the table. So I thought that was kind of cool.
I think for me, my favorite is probably the seafood that we found in Oregon. I can't remember the name of the restaurant, but we had fresh crab that was just caught that morning, and it was amazing. Crab, and we had clam chowder there too, and both of those were excellent. So I can't remember the place, but it was in Oregon because it was on our way to Astoria. So I think in general, trying not to eat out has been a challenge because I like to eat food. so I think my biggest challenge maybe is just refraining from eating out so much.
It's really difficult not to want to eat out because you get into a different place and they're going to have different fare. You have the Southwest and Southeast and Northeast, Northwest. They all had different foods to try. One of the things I thought was really crazy was in California, almost the entire state of California, you ask somebody, hey, what's your favorite place to eat? And they say, this Mexican place.
Yeah.
It's like all Mexican food.
All Mexican. Which I love, so that worked out good for me, but...
Now, we did have that really good Chinese food, but I think that was, that was in California, wasn't it?
It was.
A Golden Walk or something. It was some kind of buffet, but it was really, really good Chinese food.
Very good. So what do you think has been the best upgrade that we've made so far?
I would say solar being the best upgrade. We went from having to run the generator, which becomes expensive really quickly, to being able to charge our laptops and our cell phones. Right now it's just a minimal solar upgrade, 175 watt inverter, so we can't run a lot on it, but it's really helped us boondock and cut costs in that area, so we don't have the part costs and we don't have the fuel costs for running the generator. I
think that would be the same thing for me too. I think getting solar and the inverter has allowed us to feel a little able to do the things that we want to be able to do, so, and not have to pay the high price or some of the high prices at some of the campgrounds. So I think the ability to boondock has been one of the cool upgrades that we've made. Maybe the not so smart upgrade we did before we ever even took off, and we thought we were getting a great deal and a great idea, and that was our electric recliners. Not a great idea.
Yeah, they've been nothing but problems. I mean, number one, you have to have electric to run them, so we're not running them whenever we're boondocking. Number two, they're not well constructed, so we're always working on them, always trying to fix them, always, well, up until recently, chasing them around the back of the trailer because I didn't have them screwed to the floor. But yeah, that's probably the least successful upgrade we've done. I thought it was going to be the WeBoost. WeBoost is a cell phone signal booster that has been touted on every RV forum that we've been on to be the thing to go to. It's expensive. Yeah. It's $500 for a WeBoost after taxes and stuff. So it's a costly upgrade, and for the first month it wasn't working. The components are an external antenna, an internal antenna, and a receiving box that does the boosting, the booster box. So the instructions say to mount the external antenna as high on your RV as you can get it. So I took the antenna off our RV and I mounted it at the top of the antenna, and then it wasn't doing what it needed to do, and I was pretty frustrated. after doing some more research, I learned more about the boost plane. So you have to have the antennas 10 feet apart, which they were, but one was way up on the top of the rig and the other one was 10 feet, but it was like right here. And really what you want to have is one antenna here and one antenna here. That way you have a plane. Well, now we have that. We have it mounted. The external antenna is on the ladder, and the internal antenna is really high on a wall near the ceiling. So there's a lot more of a straight plane for anything in between that getting a good boost.
Yeah, and I think the surprising thing about that was I kind of doubted that it was going to get much better, but we were at a campground where we didn't have cell signal at all. And it was a rough connection, let's just say.
Yeah, I couldn't work on it. We had to use the park Wi-Fi to work.
Right. Yeah, and he got that hooked up, and all of a sudden we could have a good connection. So our cell phones started working. We were able to call people.
We watched Netflix.
We watched Netflix. So I'd say we figured out what we needed to do to make it better. So I think one of the interesting things about RVing full time has been finding a place to stay. So finding a campground that fit in our budget, which, you know, we've looked at our year plan and we tried to stay with something that was around $20 a night.
And finding something where we would fit in because we're so large. I mean, we have a 40-foot fifth wheel and a 23-foot truck, so we're 63 feet overall.
Yeah, so it's been a challenge just to find places to stay. So I think when we find a good campground or a good spot to stay, it's important. So I think for me, my favorite place that we've stayed, it has to do more with accessibility, and that was the Crater Lake RV campground because it was in Oregon, which if you follow my posts, you know I love Oregon, and it was close to a lot of waterfalls, and I got to go exploring on my own there, so it seemed fairly easy. You know, the aforementioned Wi-Fi and connectivity issues were a little bit of a challenge, but for me, that was my favorite campground.
So my favorite would probably be whenever we stayed in the BLM land just south of Joshua Tree National Park. Yeah. Basically, it was just a big desert, free bonus. The solar worked great there because there was no shade. It was still early enough in the year where it was not too hot. I think we had one day that got to 90 degrees or so.
Well, we had a three-day run of 90+ degree temperatures in the daytime, but it still got cool enough at night that it made that mostly bearable. So, you know, we didn't have any AC or anything like that because we were boondocking, but, you know, I loved that spot too. I think for BLM spots, that's been my favorite by far. Okay, so our mission this year was to see national parks, so we have to talk about that.
And I think there's 36 national parks on the western half of the United States. I'll have to count that to verify. And we're not talking about national monuments. We're not talking about national recreation areas. There's over 400 national somethings, whether it's recreation area, park, historical monument, or anything. And we're just talking about national parks.
Right. And we have been to 16 national parks so far. We kicked off the year at Big Bend, and then Guadalupe Mountains, then Carlsbad.
And then Saguaro, the Petrified Forest, which was kind of cool. That was a neat hike that we went on in the Petrified Forest and Painted Desert.
The Grand Canyon, Death Valley, which was a fast trip, but a really cool or hot national park.
Joshua Tree, Pinnacles, it wasn't a favorite of mine. It was only a one-night stay for us. Because there was no cell phone or Wi-Fi connectivity at all, and I had to work the next day.
Yeah, so that one was really cool. We did a sunrise hike there, and I thought that was kind of neat. So Sequoia and Kings Canyon were pretty awesome. Seeing the Sequoia trees for the first time was just mind-blowing. From there, we went on to Yosemite, and that was my favorite park, probably.
Then we went to Lassen Volcanic National Park and the Redwoods, Kings Canyon and Sequoia, Yosemite, Lassen, the Redwoods, and also Crater Lake. We went to early in the year, so much of the park was still closed because of snowpack. And so we just couldn't get to everything. The map that we're following is the like ultimate national park roadmap. They didn't put dates in there for times that you should go see those national parks, and some national parks are only accessible to what you want to see for about 3 months.
Yeah, Lassen is one of those. It has a very short summer season, let's just say. Their winter season is about 7 months long, and then snow plowing and road clearing is another 3 months, so it's only really accessible for about 3, maybe 4 months out of the year. And it's one of the places I'd like to go back to at some point, because there was several things we didn't get to do there. And then Redwoods was really interesting, because it was like not one big national park like we've been used to. It was a series of parks, a series of like state and national park together.
Yeah, I think the official name is a Redwood State and National Park.
Yeah, I think so.
And most of us just drive through unless you want to go backpacking or hiking.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of, hey, go to this point and see this type stuff. There are. I mean, we went to the big tree and different stuff like that, but it's still a hike. I mean, you have to hike and just explore the park. It's just all backwoods stuff.
Yeah, and I did enjoy. We did one pretty cool hike through there that I really liked, and kind of going through or hiking through the redwoods was kind of like hiking through an enchanted forest for me, because it rained while we were doing it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Then Crater Lake, that was another one. We got to see Crater Lake, which was the whole the thing to see.
But it was a one-day visit, because almost all of the park was still closed. Next, after that, we went to Mount Rainier, which was amazing, I thought.
And then we had a bonus park somewhere between Crater Lake and Mount Rainier. I think we were still in northern Oregon, and we were going to Astoria,
yeah.
to check out the Goonies stuff. And we passed a sign that said Lewis and Clark National Park. Turns out it was Lewis and Clark National Historic Park. So it wasn't on the list because it wasn't a quote-unquote national park. It's a National Historic Park.
Right.
But we did get some hiking in there and check that out, which is pretty cool for history. Well, I think that about does it for a 6-month check-in.
Yep.
We've got I don't know, whatever 36 minus 16 is, 20 more parks to do. So we'll check in again when we get back home in November or December time frame.
Yep.
And keep watching our videos for the as we go along state park or national parks.
Right. And if there's any questions you have or anything you want us to see or talk about, just post us a comment below and we'll check it out or give you an answer to your question.